Welcome to Couch Quarterbacks.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Couch Quarterbacks in our alternate site.
Yes, this is our number 2 in terms of our locations.
Yeah, we're doing what they do in baseball, having an alternate site where we get sent down to
our spring training facility.
Yes, well, winter training. We're having our winter meetings right now.
There you go. We're the GMs right now.
Yes, we're discussing the impending lockout for baseball. No, just kidding. We're talking about football because this is the Couch Quarterbacks, and we are bringing y'all today Week 10 of the NFL preview. We've reached the halfway point after Monday.
I was going to say officially over halfway through the season, which is crazy to think about. Even with the extra game signed, we're over halfway through the season.
This is the fastest the season has flown by ever. I think they get faster every year, so next year will go by even faster.
Which is sad to think about.
Yeah, this year has gone by in a flash. We've seen contenders rise. We've seen some teams disappoint. We've seen teams flounder that we thought. And we've seen teams that come out of nowhere and really just explode onto the scene.
Yeah, and that's what we'll cover, kind of our midseason awards and some of those teams that have surprised and that have busted this year at the end of the show. That's what we'll go through our Week 10 preview first, Stein, and then we'll do our punishments finally after not having the punishments for a couple weeks. I'll be doing 2 punishments, so be sure to stay tuned for that.
Some delayed punishments.
Yeah, and then at the very end of the show, that's when we'll cover our kind of midseason awards, like the surprising teams and all that. So let's hop into it. The Week 10 preview, and this is kind of weird for us, time, because we are filming on Thursday instead of Friday like we normally do, so we're actually going to preview tonight's game that'll be going on in a couple hours for us. It'll be over by the time we release this, but it's the 6-2 Ravens, a 7.5 point favorite, facing off against the Dolphins, 2-7 on the season, coming off of a win against Houston after their 7-game losing streak, Stein.
Yeah, this game on paper should not even be close, but we said that about games like Jacksonville and the Bills and the Cowboys and the Broncos.
The week of upsets last week.
Yeah, which makes it think, are we going to see a little bit of holdover for that week? But this is a brand new week in the league, so we really got to see the Ravens kind of taking it to the Dolphins.
And most of the games have actually been close on Thursday night this season. I think it was like 5 out of the 9 have been decided by a touchdown or less. So with the short week, it's always kind of like up in the air in terms of who could win a ball game.
And a guy like Flores is really coaching for his job in this situation. I mean, 2-7 is pretty ugly. Quarterback-wise, they are going to be have Tua as a game-time decision. If not him, obviously they'll be going with Brissett.
It's probably going to be just like last week, where Brissett's going to be the starter, and then Tua's going to be active, but only used in an emergency situation. That's the way it's looking like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either quarterback gives them an edge in any way, shape, or form against the Ravens.
Obviously, you'd rather have Tua out there, but I mean, the downfall from Tua to Brissett, I don't think it's going to make much.
It's not much of a drop off between Tua and Brissett in terms of talent and ability out there. Really, this game is not going to be super close. And for Baltimore, Lamar has been, pretty good at the last stretch of games. In his games against the Dolphins, he's won each of the last 3 meetings by at least 32 points.
Yeah, this was a crazy stat that I found. They've won their last 3 meetings against the Dolphins by 32, 40, and 49. And I think the last time that they met, it was like a 50 to 52-10, something like that, in their last meeting in 2019. So just absolutely have dominated the Dolphins recently.
Yeah.
Some guys on offense for the Ravens. Sammy Watkins actually should be back tonight. He's missed the past couple games with a hamstring injury. And then running back-wise, Latavius Murray still battling with an ankle injury. He's missed the past couple games. He didn't practice all week, so we shouldn't expect to see him out there. Expect to see Devontae Freeman, who had 15 touches last week. Le'Veon Bell also mixed in, had a touchdown last week. And then Tyson Williams kind of sprinkled in as a change of pace back to lead their rushing attack.
Yeah, definitely. Even without Murray, a still good running core that they have, even though it is old. And
also Lamar as well as a runner.
Exactly. Never forget about him. So pretty much that's been the report for both teams. Let's go ahead and give our predictions and then give a fantasy outlook. I think we both pretty safe to say we're taking the Ravens.
Yeah, we're taking the Ravens in this one. I mean, you could go just by record alone and say they have the more dominant offense, a better defense as well. The Dolphins have been just a huge disappointment this season.
And we could honestly see an overtime game because we know the Ravens are prone to overtime games.
Yeah, already had 3 of their 8 games so far this season. But yeah, Stein, fantasy outlook for the Ravens. You're going to start Lamar, start Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, Ravens defense. You're starting pretty much everyone on the Ravens. And then even Devontae Freeman, who's probably going to be the running back 1 tonight. He's gotten touchdowns in both of his starts this season. And Rashad Bateman, who missed the start of the season, and he's kind of had a nice couple games the past couple weeks. Even with Sammy Watkins back, I think he could be worthy of a flex play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect Watkins to feed into Bateman's catches as much as it potentially could happen. But really, we saw guys like Duvernay score a touchdown last week too. But those guys aren't really as important.
Yeah.
I'd say just stick with the big 3, and it's almost the big 2 because Hollywood Brown is kind of been boom or bust, but the Ravens defense definitely against whoever the Dolphins have at quarterback is going to be great.
Yeah, and then on the Dolphins side, it's a lot thinner in terms of your options. I would say Myles Gaskin, who's been their number 1 running back, you'll start him. Jalen Waddle.
He's had some stinkers, though. We know that.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle has been great these past couple weeks, so you definitely start him, especially with Devontae Parker out.
Waddle's improving out there.
And then Gesicki, who besides week 1 has really had a great season. You're
just
going to
been
start
consistent,
him at tight end
just getting
position.
4 to 5 catches, it seems, a game, and maybe even a more than that, and the rare touchdown. So yeah, that is the Thursday night game. It feels weird to talk about a Thursday night.
Yeah, I know. We're usually recapping it because of when we're filming. But before we hop into the next game, I just want to mention on bye this week's time, we got the Bears, Bengals, Giants, Texans. Forgot to mention that before we started our coverage. But obviously, fantasy-wise, you're not going to start any guys on any of those teams.
Not a lot of fantasy implications overall missing out those guys. I would
really
say
the Bengals guys.
Yeah, I would say really the Bengals is the only team that people would actually have guys on, whereas the Bears, the Giants, and the Texans, those guys are offensively effective as a paper towel, a wet paper towel.
It's not as bad as week 7 when there was like 6 teams on bye and like all the teams were good. So, but let's hop into the 1 p.m. matchups and we'll start off like we always do, talking about the hometown team, the Atlanta Falcons, 500 on the season, 4-4. They're traveling to Dallas, facing off against the 6-2 Cowboys, who came off of a very ugly loss last Sunday in Jerry's World against the Broncos. But they are still a 9-point favorite at home.
Yeah, surprised this game wasn't flexed to 4 o'clock because it is the Cowboys. We know that.
Yeah, maybe because they were just so embarrassing last week. They were like, wait, your punishment is you have to be in the 1 o'clock window.
Oh, exactly. And I'm sure Jerry Jones is upset about that. Falcons brass this whole week has been talking about this game on the radio, how Jerry Jones, is always going on the radio and talking about God knows what. So,
even bigger implications is Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, obviously being the head coach of the Falcons the past couple seasons. So a return for him against his old team.
Yeah, this could really be a litmus test for the Arthur Smith era in terms of, we bring in Arthur Smith as an offensive mind going against the former defensive mind in Dan Quinn. And we all know the Cowboys have been on a slip lately. Mike McCarthy has been scrutinized. I mean, he's always going to be scrutinized. I was going to
say, when has he not been scrutinized?
Yeah, exactly. But really, let's get into the injury report, fantasy, and then we'll give our prediction on this game. So for the Cowboys side, Michael Gallup has a calf injury, expected to play.
Yeah, he's been out since the first game of the season against the Bucs.
Yeah, he's going to be expected to play for the first time since week 1, so expect a lot of rust out of him.
But it's at least just another option for Dak out there. You know that they have one of the best offenses in the league. When you talk about the 2 running backs, they got CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz.
And that random receiver last week, I forgot his name.
Yeah, that not Cedric Wilson. I can't even think of his name.
I know, he's so forgettable.
Malik Turner, that was his name. Had 2 touchdowns last week. But Michael Gallup should slide back into the wide receiver 3 position for the Cowboys, and like I said, just another option out of this elite offense.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have a new kicker this week, Stein.
I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this guy's name.
The only reason I put the guy's name on there is so you would have to say it. But Greg Zuerlein was placed on the COVID list, so that the guy that they signed and will kick this week. Let's see it.
Liram?
Yeah.
All right, that's not too bad. Hajrullah.
Yeah, it's like Hajrulahu is kind of like how I have no idea how it's pronounced. Like I literally just copy and pasted his name on there. I was like, all right, I'm gonna see how.
Yeah, this is one of those weeks where Dave Archer and Wes Durham are gonna get that team sheet and they're gonna have the pronunciation guide.
Luckily, they got the pronunciation guide on there. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how the name's pronounced. But they're gonna have a new starting kicker this week while Greg Zuerlein's on the COVID list. So if that becomes a factor in the ball game,
could be. We've seen this game last year was very close. Obviously, the famous.
I was gonna say they don't have a guy to kick onside kicks this year.
We have Young, so he's pretty good at his kicks. But let's talk about the X's and O's of this game. Falcons have just still had that bad defense that's plagued them all season. Played better against the Saints. Almost gave up though at the end. Really, I feel like the Cowboys' name of the game is going to be running the ball down the Falcons' throat with Pollard and Zeke.
Yeah, and they're definitely going to want to try and get some revenge after only having 290 yards last game against the Broncos. They were averaging a league-best 455 yards per game going in, so they're definitely trying to get that bad taste out of their mouths once again, being at home, the game being at home last week as well. So, they're definitely going to try and dominate the Falcons' defense.
A lot of praise for guys like A.J. Terrell on the Falcons defense, which has been great. We've seen him get better, and of course Grady, but AJ can only cover one guy, so it's make his choice.
When we talk about them having now 3 great receivers out there and then a tight end as well, it's definitely going to be a lot of mismatches out there. But on the Falcons side, Matt Ryan has had one of his better stretches this season over the past couple games. I think I saw where he's actually first in QBR over like the last 3 or 5 games.
Makes sense.
He had almost 350 passing yards last week. He's had a couple of game-winning drives in the past couple weeks as well. So really playing his best football this season after we saw him really rusty to start out.
Yeah, definitely playing well. Flying under the radar though, just because on this porous Falcons team. But let's get into the fantasy outlook for this one, Roach. So for the Falcons, with the still the departure of Calvin Ridley, you want to stick with guys like Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, the unsung hero Cordero Patterson.
It's just been a Swiss Army knife, whether it be running the ball, catching the ball. He's probably good for a touchdown in this game. And then Kyle Pitts has just been steady pretty much since his coming out game. So.
Yeah, that's what Calvin Ridley, with him out there, it's really left a lot of like best defenders onto Kyle Pitts. So even if he's not showing a lot of production in terms of his stat line, he's at least helping out some other people with their stat lines. But with the tight end position, you're still going to keep him out there just because of just the dynamic playmaker that he is.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with Gage, Zacchaeus, or Sharp receiving the ball.
You saw Zacchaeus 2 touchdowns last week. Gage had a nice game PPR-wise with the 7 catches leading the team, but you really don't know who's going to kind of be the lead wide receiver 1 without Calvin Ridley. So, I would try and stay away from all 3 of those guys. Probably Gage if you were most confident in
Gage
one
is
person.
Probably the best. Matt's actually probably good for a stream if you had any of those quarterbacks on bye that we mentioned, the guys who had byes. And then Mike Davis, I still think has a little value, but more deep flex.
It's kind of like a touchdown dependent because it seems like he's really just a goal line back at this point.
Yeah, he can get his touchdowns every once in a while, but his numbers have just not been as in the same ballpark as Cordero.
Yeah, definitely not. And then on the Cowboys side, you're going to start pretty much all those guys I mentioned on their offense between Dak, Zeke, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and then Dalton Schultz. I would hold off on Michael Gallup just with his first game back, and then Tony Pollard as well, just because he's kind of like A.J. Dillon, where he's like very fringe in terms of standalone value, but he gets the touches, but if he doesn't get a touchdown, then it's probably not going to be much for you.
Yeah, and we both have the Cowboys in this one. I think my reasoning is they are going to try to get back on track after an embarrassing loss.
Yeah, I don't expect them to have like 2 embarrassing losses in a row. The Falcons coming off of a nice emotional blow the lead, come from behind victory.
Win. Falcons have been on the road twice in a row. They're probably tired, ready to get back to Atlanta, and now they're in Dallas. I'm not sure what the logistics are. I would make sense if they just left New Orleans and went and practiced in Dallas, but probably not. But we're taking the Cowboys.
Yeah, definitely. So let's move on to the next game, a team that you just mentioned. That's the Saints at 5-3 on the season, facing off against the AFC South leading Tennessee Titans 7-2 on the season. They're a 3-point favorite at home in this ball game.
This is going to be a fun game on Red Zone to watch, y'all. I can already go ahead and say that whatever the over-under on this, I think it's going to hit the over. I think this is going to be an offensive heavy, even though both teams, Saints have a good defense, and then the Titans have an improved defense. But
yeah, and then the offenses with them missing Derrick Henry, we'll get into it, but Alvin Kamara hasn't been practicing this week, so you still think offensive battle, even with maybe some missing pieces.
I still think even without these pieces, I think we're gonna see just kind of spreading the ball around and having some fun. There's still names out there for both teams, so. Let's get into some of these names and what's going to be going on. So you already mentioned Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, definitely the biggest news in this ballgame. Kamara, knee injury, didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. They actually tried out a couple running backs on Monday, so that kind of started the skepticism in terms of, is Alvin Kamara injured? Like, what's going on with it?
Yeah.
He's the type of guy that would probably go out there and play even if he didn't practice this week, but definitely still concerning that he didn't practice these first 2 days. The Friday injury report will definitely be the one to pay attention to. If he goes down, Mark Ingram will step up and be that running back one, of course.
Yeah.
He just got him in a trade a couple weeks ago, very familiar with Sean Payton, with the Saints offense, being with the team before. So
also familiar going against the Titans. The Ravens play the Titans so many times.
Yeah, so he would slide into being kind of that bell cow back and just take up all the carries that Kamara has been receiving.
Yeah, and then on the for the under center for the Saints is another question mark too. Simeon was serviceable against the Falcons.
Yeah, you saw Taysom
Hill was very efficient too.
You saw him come in for like 2 throws, and then Simeon came back in there after that. So Sean Payton probably won't come out until about Saturday, maybe Friday.
It's probably going to be Simeon because I just think Sean Payton's scared of starting Taysom Hill.
Which is weird because I feel like once he's like fully healthy, maybe he's still dealing with some stuff with the concussion. I
feel like they just have the playbook so much geared towards having Taysom as a gadget player that there's a lot of plays that they
they basically don't want to lose him as that gadget
exactly
player.
There's a lot of it closes their playbook on like half of the plays that they have available, and they have no one to fill that role, especially with Alvin Kamara being potentially out of this one. They really need that running back, gadgety guy.
They lost Michael Thomas for the season, so just all their skill position guys are just kind of like slowly disappearing from this offense.
And
so they're definitely gonna have to try and like find guys to replace those touches and make a difference.
And you heard the rumors about Odell. We'll talk about it when we get to his team because he's on a new team right now. Mm-hmm. But the Saints were one of those teams that were in the mix for Odell.
Yeah, which a lot of people were kind of questioning because of the quarterback situation between Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill, who more of a running quarterback. So
a lot of smoke and mirrors though for that kind of talk. I heard the tweet or post was talks were heating up and were fierce for Odell between the Saints.
Yeah, they got to put those that kind of catchy headline to try and get people to look at the article. But let's flip over to the Titans side. Of course, no Derrick Henry. So in the first game without him last week against the Rams, they split the touches. Adrian Peterson with 11, Jeremy McNichols with 10, and then Deonta Foreman with 5. Really using AP as kind of like their early down goal line back. You saw him even in a wildcat situation inside the 5, get a snap. Jeremy McNichols kind of like a change of pace or a pass catching down back. Of course, 2-minute drill. He's the pass catcher in the offense. And then Deonta Foreman is definitely that change of pace back. Maybe bring him in after a couple drives and bring him in for a drive for himself. But it seems like that's kind of how the split's going to go, at least after one game. That's the sample size that we got.
I mean, you combine all these guys and you got Derrick Henry. You combine their skill sets.
That's pretty much what they're trying to do. Like that kind of that quote that always goes on. It's like it's not going to take one person to completely replace him. It's going to be the group of people.
Yeah.
So that's what they're trying to do is take this like running back group and really just kind of piece it together.
This reminds me of? Remember those old Power Ranger shows where they had like those Megazorgs, then they like transform into one giant robot, and they would take like components from everyone. That's exactly
what they're trying to do. So each guy's kind of bringing something to the table, but that's how they're splitting it right now. It worked for them against the Rams. Let's see if they can do it against another tough defense in the Saints.
Yeah.
And this is some news that actually broke just a couple hours ago, Stein.
Yeah, I got the tweet you sent to me.
So that's what Julio in practice today. He was running a route, and when he kind of broke from his route, he came up kind of limping a little bit. He apparently tweaked his hamstring, and he wasn't seen from and the rest of the open practice to the media. So stop me if you've heard this before. Julio Jones with a lower leg injury.
Same old song and dance, and this is kind of what we were expecting. We love Julio, and there's no bad blood from the Falcons side for Julio. We hope he's successful, but he just hasn't been as advertised. And honestly, when it's all said and done, the Falcons could really be the guys that came out on top with this. Yeah. Getting a second-round pick out of this, whereas you have a guy who has been barely out there because of his health. And
it seems like he'll play one game and then he's out for 2 more. It's kind of like that 1 step forward, 2 steps back, like where he's just like in, out, just no consistency.
And going against one of his old stomping grounds in the Saints, it's probably going to be a GTD with a tweak hammy. Probably because of Julio's age and history, it's probably more on the side of doubtful, but we'll wait for the reports to come in on that one as we get into...
It was something that just happened, so definitely pay attention to the injury report tomorrow. Yeah. But speaking of that, let's get into the fantasy outlook for these guys. We'll start with the Saints side. You're going to start Alvin Kamara, obviously, if he's active. If he's inactive, though, Mark Ingram is going to pretty much be the bell cow back. So, you may kind of
I make a face because...
But you're definitely going to start him because Alvin Kamara gets all those carries, and without really any notable wide receiver on this team, he's going to get touches even in the receiving game.
Yeah, running backs that are closer to 3-0 aren't,
Yeah, the production usually goes down. But you're going to start Mark Ingram if Alvin Kamara is inactive. You'll start the Saints defense as well, and then I think you could stream Taysom if he is the starter just because of the running value in terms of a quarterback. But there's really no one else on the Saints team that I really care about besides the defense and
the
then
receiving
core.
Literally has been a mixed bag receiving. So is tight ends. So it's just nothing good pass catching wise. The only pass catcher, is Alvin Kamara that you should really give a damn about.
Yeah, and then on the Titans side, you're going to start A.J. Brown as that elite wide receiver 1 for the Titans. You're going to start the Titans defense as well, who, like we have said, has just been kind of under the radar and has played very well over the past couple weeks, especially against the Saints offense that could be missing their best wide receiver, their number 1 quarterback, and then maybe their top running back as well.
Yeah, and just nothing super exciting, even though they do have Sean Payton calling plays. Titans D has been playing better since they, the loss against the Jets really kind of ruined them.
And then I had this before Julio got hurt today, but I was going to say flex Julio. If he's out there, I think he's still worthy of a flex, but obviously monitor if he is actually going to play Sunday. And then the 2 running backs that I'd care about, Adrian Peterson, Jeremy McNichols, they're kind of like a desperation flex. McNichols probably more valuable in terms of PPR because he's going to be out there catching passes. AP, he's going to be more touchdown dependent. And then Ryan Tannehill, who's really disappointed this year, I'd say he's a risky QB option against a tough Saints defense.
Yeah. And then if you're really desperate in a DFS, Deontay Foreman could be worth nothing.
Yeah, if you're really desperate. But in terms of the game, we both picked the Titans in this one. I think just kind of the Saints offense with what they could be missing out there, even if Kamara is out there, it's very uninspiring offense. Do have a great defense, so but I just think the Titans, they're 7-2 this season. They've shown they're one of the top teams in the AFC, and I think they take care of business at home.
Yeah, Titans have become the new bully of the AFC, and the Saints kind of seem to be trending in the wrong direction overall. Even though the record is 5-3, I think they're just going to start slipping, and I'm taking the Titans. Also, I hate the Saints. So.
Let's move on to the next game, an AFC South battle between the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2-6 on the season, coming off the win against the Bills, and then the Colts, 4-5 on the season, a 10.5-point favorite at home. They're coming off of the Thursday Night Football victory against the New York Jets.
A mini bye for the Colts, and it's the Jets too, so that's like a double mini bye, I guess.
Yep, and on the Jaguars side, so James Robinson didn't play last week against the Bills. Urban Meyer says that he should be out there this week. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but he did practice on Thursday. He's been dealing with a heel injury. Carlos Hyde filled in for him and had 22 touches. So expect James Robinson to be back out there after missing last week. And that's a really big difference for this Jaguars offense that really doesn't have much on there. He's really the biggest guy of note, especially fantasy-wise.
Yeah, Hyde was a big fantasy pickup last week, but with Robinson going to be out there, it's going to be same old song and dance that we've seen. Probably a decent amount of carries, though they seem to be inconsistent with Robinson's use sometimes.
Yeah, remember early on in the season where they had Carlos Hyde actually get more touches than James Robinson? Everyone started freaking out because they drafted him so high and everything like that. But it seems like as the season's gone on, they've gotten more consistent with realizing, oh, this guy James Robinson is actually really good and probably the best guy on our offense. But their star quarterback, the number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, he got rolled up on last week with an ankle injury. They taped it up. He came back in there and played the rest of the game. He's been limited in practice this week, but there's really no concern that he's not going to play on Sunday. So expect Trevor to be out there. Not that it's much of a fantasy implication because most people haven't really been starting him for most of the season.
Yeah, who's their backup, C.J. Beathard?
C.J. Beathard came out for a couple throws last week.
Yeah, it's not much of a, if Trevor should be out there, and he should be, but I mean, he hasn't been putting up consistent numbers yet, and against a tough Colts defense, and a Colts team that has been trending in the right direction. Remember, they had such a tough start to their schedule.
Yeah, they've gotten a couple wins over the past couple weeks, and it like I said, you've been playing like the Jets, the Jaguars. You'll have the Texans in your division that you'll be playing, so definitely a lot easier part of their schedule. For the Colts, really the only news injury-wise, T.Y. Hilton was out last week dealing with a concussion. Remember, he missed the start of the season as well with a neck injury. He practiced on Wednesday and Thursday. He's still in the concussion protocol, but I would expect him to be cleared in time for Sunday, so expect him to be out there, and maybe he can do something against the lowly Jaguars. But I will say they did only give up 6 points against the Bills' offense last week, so they at least have that going for them.
Yeah, and they were amazing against the big scary Bills, and so
the Bills. Yeah, I think I said the Chiefs. So
no, you said the Bills.
I did say the Bills. Okay.
Yeah, I think you messed up your offensive defense, but I was just gonna I was trying. The gears in my head were too slow to process what team was on offense.
I was gonna say after I was thinking, I was like, I think I messed up something in that.
You
sentence,
did mess up something in that.
But, all right, yeah. Well, hopefully
we'll fix it in post.
It all sounded.
We'll fix
hopefully
it
all sounded okay. But let's just hop into the fantasy outlook.
Yeah, that'll save us.
So for the Jaguars, you're gonna start James Robinson, assuming that he's gonna be active and out there on Sunday. And Dan Arnold, who's since coming over to the Jaguars, has pretty much been their number 1 target for Trevor Lawrence. I think he's worthy of a start, especially if you don't have any better option at the tight end position.
Yeah,
and then their wide receivers, I think, are all kind of like deep flex value. Marvin Jones Jr., Laviska Shenault, Jamal Agnew. It's kind of like the Falcons, where you really don't know like which guy is going to be a wide receiver 1 each week. So it's kind of just put him in your starting lineup and hope for the best if you have to play one.
I would say Marvin Jones is probably the most comfortable,
exactly.
But that's just purely based on previous performance from him.
Yeah.
For the Colts, Carson Wentz has been playing better, so I like him as a starter. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Taylor, I mean, how are you not going to start him against the Jags defense? I know they only gave up 6 points, but
don't expect them to do that 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, the Bills were missing running backs in their game, so now they can just rely on the running game with Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman is probably the best receiver, especially with a banged up T.Y. Hilton. And then I kind of like this Colts defense, which played well against the Jets until Mike White played well.
Garbage time when Josh Johnson came out there and actually had 3 touchdowns. And then T.Y. Hilton, if he is out there, I think you could put him as kind of like a deeper flex play as well, since he's only been out there for 1 game yet this season. But we both have the Colts in this one for, I think, obvious reasons. I mean, come on, the Lightning can't strike twice now with the Jaguars.
Yeah, the Jags are still a terrible team. I just want to call that Bills game an aberration. This thing was just, I don't even remember it. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Nothing happened there.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, so we got the Colts because we think they're just going to steamroll them. And after a weekend of shocks, we got to have some chalk this coming week.
At least some.
Yeah.
But let's get into the next matchup, which is a battle of 5 and 4 teams, and that's the Browns going to Foxborough to face off against the Patriots.
And the Patriots are favored,
which
is interesting.
A 1.5 point favorite at home. I don't think they've won a home game yet this season. They might have one home win, but I'm pretty sure they have I know they started off going 0-4 at home in their first 3 or 4
a playoff
games,
team versus a non-playoff team last year, and the non-playoff team is favored in a interesting matchup. I think maybe if this was in Cleveland, maybe the line would flip.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I mean, Patriots going to be at home. Just weird X's and O's to this game because we haven't seen Mac Jones. I mean, he's been the most successful of the rookie quarterbacks, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the rookie quarterbacks have been notoriously pretty bad
He's been a game manager at the best.
I mean, Justin Fields, after that performance against the Steelers last week, getting the go-ahead drive before they ended up losing that game, definitely putting his hat into the ring.
But still, he's been sacked more than any other quarterback in the league. You can look that up. That's a stat. So Mac Jones is going against a defense that's kind of been up and down as well. Mm-hmm. You got guys like Myles Garrett, patrolling for the Browns.
Had a great week last week, though, against the Bengals with the pick six from Denzel Ward.
But then the Patriots have guys like Matthew Judon and had a great defensive week last week against the Panthers. So this could be a defensive
These are two teams that rely on their run game and that rely on their defenses to win.
This is a Big Ten game through and through, Roach. This is like, I don't even. Let's think of this is like Rutgers versus like Penn State.
Oh God.
I mean, maybe I don't know. I was just thinking of
maybe like a Purdue Penn State or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking of exactly.
Maybe a little better Big Ten team than Rutgers. But before we get into the X's and O's, Stein, I just want to go over some kind of like roster news. So on the Browns this past week, we're making some deals with some offensive linemen. They got both their guards, Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, locked down with contract extensions. Bitonio got a 3-year, $48 million deal. That's matched with Joe Thuney as the highest per year in terms of a guard in the NFL. And then Wyatt Teller got 4-year, $56.8 million. So we know the Browns have had one of the better offensive lines last season, also this season.
Yeah,
they've got everybody locked up.
Both of those guys deserved and earned their contracts. That's good for them. For a team that's had such bad luck over the years, they got some guys that are going to be, that Alex Mack, Zach.
And it's exactly what you need with a team with Hunt and Nick Chubb. That they have one of the elite running back tandems in the league and rely so much on running the football. You need a great offensive line, obviously. So
kind of that Joe Thomas role. I was going to say. I was going to say Zach Martin, but that Joe Thomas role for them. They've always had good offensive line, but what isn't been good for them is the running back situation because Nick Chubb and
really their whole running back.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got the report that Nick Chubb and it's not Ramondre Felton. It's
Demetric Felton.
Demetric Felton. Ramondre Steven. Yeah, it's both of them.
It's in this matchup.
Yeah, he's in this matchup. Both of them tested positive for COVID-19.
Also, their fourth string running back, John Kelly. The only guy in the running back room that didn't test positive was Dearness Johnson. And then they signed Brian Hill, old Falcon, as their running back too.
He's still running around. I wonder if Ito Smith ever got signed.
Yeah, he's probably bouncing around somewhere on a practice
squad. I feel like
he's
in the Vikings for the most random reason.
Maybe, but that's what their running back room is probably going to be. Dearness Johnson, who had a great game when he filled in for Chubb and Hunt when they were both injured back in Week 7 against Denver. So look for him to be the running back 1 again. Like I said, Brian Hill will probably be the running back 2. Nick Chubb is vaccinated, so he does just need the 2 negative tests during a 24-hour period.
And Kelly too. Would you know?
I didn't see news on that. Obviously, Nick Chubb is the most
at
important.
Least, I think I heard that all the running backs were vaccinated for the Browns, but that was before.
Yeah. So all this stuff came out on Tuesday. So if they can get the 2 negative tests by Sunday, then they'd be able to play. But as of right now,
is this some Belichick black magic? You think?
Yeah, put something under the radar, a little positive test under the radar. But that's what their running back room is going to look like. Like I said, even without Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt before, they still had a great game. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. Just more worried fantasy-wise if you're not going to have Nick Chubb out there.
Yes.
The running backs for the Patriots are also dealing with some injuries. You got Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris are both in concussion protocol. Didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday.
And COVID.
Yeah,
concussions.
2 C's.
Yeah, concussions for the Pats and COVID for the Browns. So just unlucky around there.
Yeah, so the running back room for the Patriots might be Brandon Bolden and J.J. Taylor. So
those guys have had their chances and had their moments this season. I'm sure they would rather have, Damian Harris probably leading the way, and so we'll see because concussions can be,
sometimes they get them on Sunday and they're ready to go for next Sunday's game. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 weeks. It really just depends on the symptoms and how long
the tests.
In terms of it takes them to get healthy. So.
Yeah. For fantasy though, let's talk about it because we're going to be using a lot of running backs.
Yeah, that's what it's really just going to be the names of the people. You're going to start running backs on these teams, but it's just a matter of who's going to be healthy and active that you can actually start.
Yeah.
So as we're filming this on Thursday, we're going to assume Nick Chubb is going to be out on Sunday. So we're going to say start Dearness Johnson because he's going to get the majority of the touches from the Browns backfield, the run-heavy offense. Yeah. And then you're going to start the Browns defense against this Patriots offense that could be missing their running backs as well. And we've already talked about how Mac Jones has been very uninspiring game manager this season. So you're going to start the Browns defense. In terms of Baker and any of the pass catchers for the Browns, Baker spread the ball around last week. No one had more than 3 catches. So I wouldn't trust Jarvis Landry is the guy you would trust the most, but Donovan Peoples-Jones, the tight ends, it's hard to trust any of those guys.
Yeah, and this Patriots defense has been pretty good.
Bill always shuts down the number 1 receiver on teams. So.
Yeah, and he plays well against a team like the Browns. It's going to be pretty one-dimensional. We could imagine. For the Patriots, you're going to go with pretty much every single running back, that's going to be active.
Yeah, so
maybe not Taylor and Bolden if they.
So I'm saying if the 2 guys with the concussion, Stevenson and Harris, are inactive, you're going to go with Brandon Bolden. He's going to be the first guy to get touches.
Yeah.
If one of those 2 running backs is active and the other one isn't, you're going to start that dude. If they're both out there, I'd say start Damian Harris, who's going to be more of like the touchdown dependent back, the guy that's going to get the lead carries, and then maybe Ramondre Stevenson. But yeah, so you're really going to have to pay attention to the Patriots injury report to see which of those running backs are active. But you're going to start one of them in this run-first offense. But in terms of their pass catchers, Hunter Henry's really the only guy that I would trust, and even then he's more of a touchdown-dependent guy.
Yeah, any of their other receivers really just haven't been consistent at all. And Mac also just more of a game manager. I wouldn't be surprised if Mac has like 150, 160 passing yards for this game.
I would not be either. And then the Patriots defense, kind of the same reason with the Browns defense, because they're going to be missing running backs, Baker, the pass catchers, blah, da, 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 same song and dance. I would start the Patriots defense as well.
Are talking about the Bills and the Jets. The Bills going to New York, which isn't much of a road game for them.
Much of a travel, and they're still a 13-point favorite against the 2-6 Jets.
Yeah, the lowly Jets, who the name of the season for them has been Mike White.
Which is sad because Mike White just coming onto the scene like 2 weeks ago and just White mania.
I've seen descriptions calling him the legendary backup Mike White. I don't think we're giving him legendary status yet.
For having one good game against the Bengals and then getting hurt in the first
Davis Mills had one good game, and people weren't jumping down the Davis Mills train.
No Davis Mills wagon, but with the forearm injury that he had last week on Thursday Night Football sign, they said that he is going to start this upcoming Sunday, and Joe Flacco actually going to be active. Remember, they traded for him a couple weeks ago. He won't
have his number 5 because Mike White has his number 5.
I wonder what number he'll actually be then.
Controversy. Probably like 7 or something, I think.
Yeah, but he will be the backup. Hopefully we won't have a Joe Flacco sighting in this ball game, but that's really the big news on the Jets side. For the Bills, you got a couple of offensive guys banged up. Dawson Knox, who has a broken hand. He's been a limited participant in practice this week. He hasn't played since week 6.
Yeah, he had some great flashes at the beginning, but really he's kind of cooled off.
Well, I was going to say, him and Dalton Schultz were like 2 of the big breakout tight ends, and then the injury really halted his season. So he's kind of truly questionable. I'd say maybe more on the closer side of playing. Of questionable, so be sure to pay attention to the practice report on that.
Yeah.
And then Zach Moss got a concussion in last week's game. He didn't practice on Wednesday. He was out there on Thursday in a non-contact jersey. So once again, with concussions, with the running backs especially, see if he ends up clearing protocol in time Sunday. This is a mouth-watering matchup for him against the Jets defense that just gave up 172 yards to Jonathan Taylor and then another 75 to Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, and then a really pissed off Bills team at that as well, going into a team that they think that they can bully. And I mean, they might have had that idea against the Jags, though.
Yeah, true.
Let's be honest.
I kind of like talking with the Jags, thinking they won't get 2 wins in a row. I think the Bills won't have 2 ugly losses to 2 teams like that 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and the Patriots are kind of knocking on that door
right now.
They're half
game back right now. They're at 5-4.
This is a divisional game too for them. So they're gonna need this win, even though they are heavily favored. They're gonna have to put a statement win. You know how we talk about in college football, we need our statement win. Well, really, it's gonna be the Bills needing their statement win against the Jets.
I think they should win by about 40 plus in this ball game. game. But
yeah, just make it ugly.
Yeah, let's get to the fantasy outlook. So for the Bills, you're going to start just about everybody that's going to be active. Josh Allen, of course, Devin Singletary, which is an even better matchup if Zach Moss is not out there. I think you start both of them even if they're both active. You're going to start Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, who's been a PPR monster. And then if Dawson Knox is out there, you're still going to start him in the Bills' defense, of course, against the Jets, even against Mike White. On the Jets side, you're going to start Michael Carter, who's really had a nice past couple weeks, especially with the quarterback change.
Yeah.
And then really in terms of other offensive options, you're just going to deep flex that other running back with Ty Johnson and their top receivers with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis, who should be back out there.
Yeah,
this
Elijah
week after
Moore
missing last week.
had his coming out game last weekend.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
Looking better. Corey Davis also coming back. So it's going to be definitely an improved Jets offense, but still, it's the Jets. Let's expect nothing less than the Jets.
Yeah, exactly.
We're both taking the Bills for that regard.
Yeah, as expected.
Because it's the Jets, you know.
So let's hop into the next game in the 1 o'clock window. That is the winless Lions, 0-8, looking for their first win of the season. And it's going to be a tough test against the Steelers, who are 5-3. They're a 9-point favorite at home, coming off of the big Monday Night Football victory against the Bears.
Yeah, Lions coming off their bye. They had a week.
They didn't lose.
Yeah, they had a week to prepare.
We gave them the standing ovation last week for it.
Yeah,
so
they definitely had a week to watch the film and get right. So, you know, what did Dan Campbell do during this past week? God knows what he did.
Yeah, drink 1,000 milligrams of caffeine. That's what
probably
he did.
Snorted like spider venom or something. I don't know. like, let's be honest, something ridiculous.
Yeah, imagine spending a day with Dan Campbell. Just like hit record on the phone and then just kind of let him do.
You know how people always want to like strap a camera to their dog and see where their dog goes? Let's strap a camera to Dan Campbell and see where he goes.
Imagine the views that would get. It would be crazy. But, not much news going into this ball game, kind of like injury wise and all of that. For the Lions, something notable just because of how bad their wide receivers have been. They claimed Josh Reynolds off waivers from the Titans. That was supposed to be a big like free agent wide receiver acquisition because he had 50-something catches, 618 yards last season, and a couple touchdowns with the Rams. So they thought that would be kind of like the third wide receiver for them behind Julio and A.J. Brown. Didn't end up being the case. So they pick him up off waivers. Remember, of course, reuniting with Jared Goff. So maybe he kind of rekindles something. And we talked about how Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, there's not a whole lot to go around with these wide receivers. Too. Well, Cephas out for the season.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, though, like overall, we've had just even Cephas was probably their lone bright spot, but the fact
which isn't saying much.
Yeah. For the Steelers coming off a Monday night win and a close one that really shouldn't have been as close as it was.
Yeah, they were up big, let the Bears come back into the game, and they
got a little help from some calls, from that. We didn't recap that game, but definitely some interesting, questionable, we'll say, calls.
Yeah.
But the Steelers have been looking good, and I think the name of them is going to be their running game and their defense, similar like the Browns, pretty much.
Yeah, Najee Harris, of course, should dominate this game against the Lions defense, and then the Steelers, historically known for having great defense, is the same thing this season. So expect them to absolutely feast on this just abysmal Lions offense.
T.J. Watt, going to get his.
And then. Really the only thing injury-wise, Chase Claypool injured his toe late in the ball game. They originally feared, Stein, that it was season-ending injury, but now they're saying more. Toe. Yeah, they're saying more week to week now, so maybe goes on IR, but he hasn't practiced this week. He's not going to be out there. And then Big Ben, pec/shoulder injury. He also got back-to-back, did not participate in practices, but expect him to be out there on Sunday. They don't seem too concerned about it.
Yeah, for the fantasy outlook, we'll start with the Lions because not much there.
DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, and that's really about it.
Yeah, Goff is just, no.
No, please no. And then on the Steelers side, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, who's going to eat up all the targets with probably no Claypool, and then no Juju obviously out there. Steelers defense, you're going to start them as well. If Claypool is active, I would say flex him. But other than that, you don't really need anyone else on the Steelers.
Yes. All right. Moving. We're both having the Steelers, and this one just because the Lions going to continue their 0 going to go on to 0-9 skid. The best 0-9 team in football history.
Maybe they'll get a win eventually, Stein. Who knows?
Yeah. Guys, next up we have the Bucs going to a Washington football team coming off a bye and a rematch of last year's playoff game.
Actually, exciting playoff game. The closest one the Bucs had really all playoffs last year.
Yeah, I mean, they were on the road every game, and including this one, this similar story. Pretty much everything. Let's talk about the game. The Chris Godwin injury has been flaring up with his foot.
Really, just about everyone on the Bucs offense is banged up, except for like Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, and Tom Brady. You got Godwin with a foot injury. AB's got an ankle problem. He apparently shed his boot. He's probably still not going to be out there this week, maybe next week. Gronk's been dealing with back spasms. He's had back injuries the whole
Gronk's
career.
had everything.
And so none of those guys practice on Wednesday or Thursday. I don't think you're going to see any of those guys out there on Sunday, Stein. They signed Darren Fells, a tight end, so that's a bad sign for Gronk. Being out there on Sunday. Like I said, Arians came out today and said that it's probably going to be like 2 or 3 weeks until he's fully healthy. So a guy that remembers such the great season that he had to start out, Stein, and now it's just injury after injury. He hadn't been able to get back out there.
Whatever else they're providing at tight end really hasn't stuck. I mean, Braid's been a no factor.
Howard.
Yeah, O.J. Howard's been just pretty much nothing as well. So going to be interesting for the Bucs.
But, I mean, it still shouldn't be an issue. You still got Tom Brady. You still got Fournette, Ronald Jones. Mike Evans has been their number one receiver, so you still got him out there. So.
Like, even Keyshawn Vaughn was getting touches, I've seen.
When he gets out there and blowout games. But.
Yeah, this could be that kind of case because Washington just trending in the wrong direction.
Well, just like the Dolphins, one of the most disappointing teams this season, Stein.
Exactly, and Fitzpatrick, we're still kind of waiting for him to come back. Remember when they targeted a return around now, but now there's no timetable. Initial MRIs have shown some progress.
Yeah, he got an MRI
take
this
it
past
with a grain
week,
of salt.
So that's what we thought he would be back by now, but obviously with the MRI showing some progress but still some issues out there, we don't know if we'll even see him back this season. So Taylor Heineke has been just kind of like a mixed bag of whatever you could get
He's
from
Fitzpatrick
him.
He's half of Fitzpatrick.
He's one of those guys that we always talk about is like great as a backup, but like once he gets to be a starter for an extended period of time, like he can.
He's Fitzpatrick who didn't go to Harvard. Exactly.
A dumber Fitzpatrick is basically what
Old
you're
Dominion
saying.
is pretty much the dumb Harvard.
But in terms of another guy that's been out for a while, Logan Thomas has been dealing with a hamstring injury since week 4 against the Falcons. He was apparently sore after his practice on Monday, so his status for Sunday is going to be determined on Friday. So they could be without the guy that started as quarterback week 1, who still continue to be without him, and then their starting tight end could still be out. So
I'm hoping Thomas is in there because he's definitely a weapon for them.
If there's a couple guys from each team that's not going to be out there, definitely advantage Bucs in this ball game.
I take that all day. Fantasy-wise for the Bucs, you got to keep going with MVP candidate Tom Brady. I hate to say that, but the guy has just been ageless. Mm-hmm. Leonard Fournette is definitely the bell cow back over anybody else they're offering out there.
Yeah,
Mike Evans.
Rojo just down the toilet.
Mike Evans, so many touchdowns, so many receiving yards. Guy's looking great. And then the Bucs defense against just the Washington offense that can be anemic at times.
Even with the poor secondary of the Bucs, like that front four should absolutely feast on Taylor Heineke.
Remember when we thought the Washington defense was going to be something to start? This could have been a start for them, but they've just been so disappointing.
Yeah, they're basically a sit-em at this point in the season, and especially against this Bucs offense. On the Washington football team side, you're going to start Antonio Gibson, start J.D. McKissick because they should be trailing in this ball game, and then you start that number 1 wide receiver in Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
But besides that, I wouldn't start anyone else. Logan Thomas, if he's out there, I think with tight end you could still start him, but I wouldn't start anyone else.
Tight end premium for Logan Thomas. That's only if he is out there. And we're both taking the Bucs in this one just because I just think record-wise, the Bucs are far and away the better team.
Bucs 9.5
talent-wise too.
Yeah, they're 9.5 point favorite on the road.
Yeah, so that seems like a pretty good 1 o'clock window, Roach. Just some games that could be pretty fun to watch. Some fun offenses. Really, the only game that probably is not going to be on Red Zone is that Lions-Steelers game.
Yeah, there's going to be no offense in that one.
But,
So in the 4 o'clock window, we got 2 405s, 2 425s. First 405 we'll talk about. is the 4-5 Carolina Panthers against the 8-1 league's best Arizona Cardinals. I almost said St. Louis Cardinals, not the baseball team.
You still got baseball on your mind, Roach. We're still celebrating the World Series over here.
The Cardinals, a 10-point favorite at home against the Panthers, who have been on a downward spiral since their 3-0 start, and it all starts with their quarterback in Sam Darnold.
I love this injury.
Remember the first couple weeks he was amazing. He's got a fractured scapula.
Isn't that what Carl Wieser used to say?
Yes.
Oh, my scapula.
Yes, he did. Yes, he's got a fractured
Where even
scapula.
is the scapula?
It's somewhere up in your shoulder, up in your chest shoulder area, maybe on your back.
I have no idea.
As we're getting from our producers in the background, but
yeah,
he's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. PJ Walker is going to start this week, but in terms of after this week, Stein, the big news from today, Cam Newton is coming home. A 1-year, $10 million deal, $4.5 million in guarantees. Cam Newton back with the Carolina Panthers, team that drafted him, brought him to a Super Bowl, MVP winner. He's back.
Yeah, I mean, who saw this one coming? Because Cam Newton going back to his old team.
This all developed really in less than 24 hours because there was something that came out earlier today saying that he was going to meet with Matt Rule, with the owner of the team and everything like that. And then I guess from the meeting, they offered him a contract at the end of it.
Yeah, and this is a whole new front office, and new staff.
This isn't a carryover of Rivera and all that from when he was there originally.
For them. So they must have just had he must have built some rapport, obviously, over the years. And just a guy who can go in there and reunite some vintage Cam Newton. I mean, we're not going to see MVP form Cam Newton anything close to it.
I would say that this is almost at this point kind of like a lateral move with Cam Newton, 32 years old now. We saw what he did last year with the Patriots. Just was not good, especially throwing the ball. Still has a little bit running the ball. I mean, he still is a big, bruising guy, 250-plus pounds. So
this could help him in the long term, too, because it gets him back on a roster and gets him contributing a little bit again, rather than when he was floundering around in free agency. With all those other teams going down with quarterbacks, whether it be the Dolphins, etc., he needed to have some stability, and he wasn't able to get any of these shots that we thought he would.
Yeah, so we'll see after this week. Obviously, like I said, PJ Walker will start this week. We'll see after. You're paying a guy $10 million. He's probably going to be the start of the rest of the season, but we'll see how Cam actually performs the rest of the season.
Yes. Also, they add Matt Barkley as well.
Yeah, they added him previously.
It's just more of a depth piece,
Yeah, he'll probably be the quarterback 3 now once Cam Newton comes in. Some other injuries they're dealing with, just more for the Panthers. Brian Burns, ankle injury. He's questionable for Sunday. Their center, Matt
Paradis,
ACL injury. He's out for the season. And then their left tackle, Cam Irvin, calf injury. He's on IR. So just the injuries adding up, especially on the offensive side of the football. For the Panthers, on the Cardinals side, they've been dealing with their fair share of injuries. Rondale Moore with a neck injury. D-Hop missed last week with hamstring. Kyler Murray with an ankle injury missed last week as well. All those guys didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Kyler, his ankle is apparently improving, but they're also looking for his long-term future, obviously going to be their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, no sense in starting him versus, and risking a long-term injury against a Panthers team.
Yeah, all these guys are probably on the wrong side of questionable without practicing these 2 days.
McCoy could be very much, some guy that he looked great in his performance against a good 49ers defense, and the Panthers have a pretty similar style defense, I would say.
They've got a great defense as well, so he might get another start on Sunday. In terms of fantasy for the Panthers, there's really only 2 guys that you're going to start. That's Christian McCaffrey, who was back last week for the first time in a couple weeks, and then DJ Moore, who's still their number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah.
Really the worst thing about him is he's just had bad quarterback play, really hasn't had someone that can get the ball to him.
Yeah, don't. I mean, I'm sure Cam Newton's going to fly off in terms of waiver wires, but I'd be weary on that.
Yeah, I don't know how crazy I would be with signing Cam Newton onto your fantasy team. I mean, if you really need him, then maybe just because he's a starting quarterback, but if it's not super flex, probably stay away from him. On the Cardinals side, you're going to start James Conner, who Chase Edmonds is injured and on IR now, so Conner is going to be pretty much the bell cow back.
Yeah, great game last week, too.
Mixed in a little bit, but you're definitely starting him. Christian Kirk, with the wide receiver injuries, should be the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, so you're going to start him. AJ Green is off the COVID list, should be back this week, so I think you can start him. Zach Ertz starting tight end, and then the Cardinals defense has been great this year, so you're going to start them.
Against a weak Panthers offense that still doesn't know what they're doing, and Darnold has still been all over the place. I mean, they're going to be throwing out P.J. Walker there, so it's not much of an improvement. The former XFL star in P.J.
who
Walker.
was 3 for 15 in his one appearance earlier this season, passing-wise.
Yeah.
But we both got the Cardinals.
We're both taking the Cards. I think we both are on the Cards bandwagon this season. Moving on to the next game, we have the Vikings traveling to Los Angeles.
Yeah, they're facing off against the Chargers. 2.5-point favorite. The Chargers are at home, and the big news going into this ball game is on the Viking side with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, this is the interesting story because I've heard that he was claimed to be a victim himself of domestic abuse and extortion.
So it's been a he said she said type of deal this past week. So they're basically both suing each other, him and an ex-girlfriend. He was accused of physical and emotional abuse. And then he is claiming to be a victim of domestic abuse and extortion. So, like I said, this is going to be kind of a very messy legal matter.
What does she have, like stock frauds or something going on? I mean, like, we get the SEC in this. Like, this is.
I don't know, Stein, but this is, like I said, everything is kind of leaning towards Dalvin playing on Sunday because the NFL is still kind of getting all the information out there. It might take a couple weeks before they really step in and get involved with this and really all the legal stuff goes through. So expect Dalvin for the foreseeable future to be out there and playing. But it's definitely going to be a situation to monitor over the next couple weeks to see just kind of how it unfolds.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been as widely publicized as some other cases that we've seen. I'm talking about like rug situations. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is compared to the rug situations, this has just been nothing as bad.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's going to be coming in. Alexander Madison, probably, though, a guy you want to still keep on your...
Yeah, definitely stash him. I know I've got him in a league where I've got Dalvin Cook,
Same.
So it definitely helps.
Same for the long term. For Chargers, it's just pretty much the same kind of story. They've been rolling pretty well. Great win against the Eagles. Everything is firing for them. Herbert's looking like a dark horse MVP candidate.
Yeah, they got the great offense, great defense, just a lot of nice pieces around there. Brandon Staley has been great for this team, and they're going to try and get another victory against the Vikings, who have just been on the wrong side of close games all season.
Yeah, and I think the Chargers, this game's going to be in LA. This is going to serve them pretty well. I think they have the advantage overall, even though the Vikings still do have weapons all around.
Yeah, I think this is just going to
be.
I think this is just going to be another close game, Stein, and the Vikings will once again be on the wrong side of it.
Two teams with notorious kicking woes.
Yeah,
I think the Chargers are the better one this year.
Yeah, the Chargers at least have Dustin Hopkins now, so kind of like a proven NFL kicker. So definitely give the advantage to them if it comes down to the wire.
I don't even know who the Vikings are trotting out there a kicker.
Yeah, they got Greg Joseph out there, who's missed his fair share of kicks in the clutch, but. Fantasy-wise, the fantasy outlook for the Vikings, you're going to start Dalvin because, like I said, he should be out there on Sunday. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, they're two stud receivers. You're starting both of them. And then Kirk Cousins is worth a stream because he is always one of those guys that just, it's never like a sexy stat line, but he always at least puts up some sort of numbers fantasy-wise.
He contributes his fair share when sometimes. For the Chargers, Herbert has been one of the best quarterbacks. I don't know his ranking, but I assume it's top 5.
Yeah, definitely fire him up, Stein.
Austin Eckler up there as well has been a great running back. And then their receiving group has been just all over the board, and it's been great.
Mm-hmm.
All over the board. That's what I mean. Like a lot of guys getting catches, a lot of touchdowns going between Allen, Mike Williams, and Jared Cook.
Yeah, Mike Williams has kind of had a down week the past couple weeks, so hopefully he'll get back on track against his Vikings secondary that has not been very good this season. But yeah, you're going to start just about all those pass catchers of note on the Chargers side. And then, like we said, we both picked the Chargers in this one. I think it'll be a kind of a close ball game, but the Chargers still should come away in the end.
Yes. All right, moving on to the two last 425 games. We have the Eagles taking on the Broncos. Eagles traveling out west. Both of them coming off, I would say, good games, even though the Eagles lost and the Broncos, impose their will.
Had a great game against the Cowboys. Yeah, they're 2.5 points.
This one is one of those that can go either way.
Yeah, I just don't like this matchup at all. Like AFC, NFC, like cross conference matchup. Like two teams that are just
colors that clash too. Blue and orange versus that black and green.
And like the Eagles 3-6, they haven't been great this season. The Broncos, even though they've been 5-4, like they started out 3-0, then were really bad. Like had the great win last week. Like you don't have a feel of what kind of team that they have this year. So this isn't a matchup I'm looking forward to. But
both teams have had improved running games, and I think that's been the MO. And we'll start with the Eagles.
Well, and surprisingly, the Eagles' running game has gotten better without Miles Sanders. Jordan Howard has just resurrected his career once again on the Eagles. 29 carries, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games. He has been great. Boston Scott has been good as well. Even Kenneth Gainwell got a touchdown last week.
Yeah, he's a contributor for them.
So the Eagles' run game as a whole has been awesome the past couple games. They will face a tough defensive front. In the Broncos, we saw him shut down the Cowboys' offense last week.
Yep.
Broncos offensively, Noah Fant activated off the COVID list. He missed the last game, so another weapon for Teddy Bridgewater back out there.
Yeah, and Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon both playing well, running the ball for them.
Yeah, they've been a two-headed monster at running back, so continue to see that. But they do have 3 offensive linemen that should be out this upcoming week. Both their tackles, and Garrett Bowles, Bobby Massey, and then Garrett Glasgow, their right guard, should all miss this ball game. So maybe affect the running game a little bit in terms of having some backups out there, but you're still going to start those guys when we get to the fantasy outlook.
Yeah, for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, it seems like he's improving his running ability very well. Throwing the ball still is questionable, but I think it's going to be kind of stick with the run kind of game for them. So I really like Jordan Howard also as well. Devontae Smith is probably their most contributing pass catcher.
Yeah, had a great game last week with over 100 yards and a touchdown. And then Dallas Goedert is their second best pass catching option. So you're definitely going to start him at the tight end position. And then Boston Scott, with being more of a PPR guy compared to Jordan Howard, you're going to deep flex him with the potential of the Eagles being down in this ball game.
Yep.
On the Broncos side, surprisingly, actually, quite a few guys that you're probably going to be starting in terms of the 2 running backs, Gordon and Javonte Williams. Jerry Jeudy's been great since he came back. You're going to start him. Noah Fant going to be healthy this week. Start him. And then the Broncos defense, you start them. They've been one of the top defensive options this season.
Yeah, stream Teddy and Cortland Sutton potentially.
Yeah,
if he's out there.
Sutton, since Jeudy has come back, has really kind of like push back into the wide receiver 2, if not wide receiver 3, compared to Tim Patrick as well. So maybe he can have a bounce back game against the Eagles.
They have a wealth of riches, and you just named all these names, and I took the Broncos based off the names, and I don't know why you have the Eagles.
I don't know why, but like I keep going back to the Eagles, like thinking that they're finally going to get a victory, and it's
like you and the Jags.
Yeah, it just hasn't been happening. So I picked the Eagles in this one, but once again, I'm not very confident in this pick.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. The last 4:00 game, we have the return games for 2 storied quarterbacks, potentially return games. The first one being the Seahawks and Russell Wilson coming back, has been cleared to play. He's been antsing to get out there since he even got hurt.
Yeah, that's what, only missing 4 weeks after having the finger surgery, so he's been cleared to play. He'll be out there. Against this Packers team that has been missing Aaron Rodgers, obviously missed last game with the COVID issue.
Yeah.
He is able to get activated, first eligible on Saturday, so expect him to get activated then and then turn around and play the next day. I'm sure he's been game planning and stuff all week, just hasn't been able to get out there on the practice field with his guys. So maybe see a little bit of rust from him in the quarterback position.
Yeah, this could be rusty from both of these guys, as both of these guys are returning. And just a classic matchup of NFC perennial powerhouses.
I would say these are 2 teams that have been like playoff contenders for the past really decade now.
Yeah, harken back to the famous interception,
the replacement refs,
immaculate interception. So you gotta love that. For the Seahawks, though, Chris Carson has been designated to return from the IR, so that's good news, but it's still unlikely he's going to play with his neck injury.
That just opens up that 3-week window for him to be eligible to return. So usually guys, after they get designated, don't return for at least another week or 2. So he's probably not going to be out there on Sunday, but it's at least a step in the right direction for him to get back out there, because at one time, because of the neck injury with being such a serious part of the body. There was fear that he might not play the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, a neck injury for a running back.
You don't mess with the neck, you know.
Well, especially for a running back, a guy that's going to be like in between all the offensive and defensive linemen. So
yeah. For the fantasy outlook, you're going to start Russ, let Russ cook. We always talk about that. Alex Collins has been the running back ever since they were out. DK and Lockett also contributors.
Yeah, definitely get a big boost fantasy-wise with having Russell Wilson back.
Yes. And then for the Packers side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers, if active, if not, we don't like Love.
We don't like Jordan Love. He looked awful last week against the Chiefs.
Aaron Jones, of course. Devontae, why not? Obviously, every week.
Elite wide receiver one.
Yeah, why not start him? I don't care whatever matchup he has ever.
Yeah, matchup-proof guy.
A.J. Dillon has also been a contributor every once in a while, so I like him as a flex, more of a deep flex, too.
Yeah, that's what he actually had 4 receptions last week compared to Aaron Jones not even being targeted in the passing game, so that's definitely a positive sign for him and really his fantasy value.
Yeah.
And then we both have the Packers in this one. I was thinking about the Seahawks, but I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be out there, and Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, like Russell Wilson coming back, like it's a good story. I think if this game was maybe in Seattle.
That's what I was going to say. If you move this to Seattle, we'll have I would take the Seahawks, I think, with Russ coming back. I also think if maybe it was in Seattle, maybe that would be less likely for Aaron Rodgers to play. Maybe, maybe the travel purposes, because there are a lot of hoops to jump through with COVID traveling.
Yeah, no, that is true. So, but with them being at home and everything, and Aaron Rodgers expect to be out there, we both have the Packers in this ball game.
All right, moving on to the prime time, the 8:20 on NBC. And let me know if you heard this before, but the Chiefs are on prime time again.
Yeah, Chiefs 5-4 on the season. They're a 2.5-point road favorite against the divisional rival, the Raiders. 5-3 on the season, and the Chiefs are 14-3 in the last 17 meetings against the Raiders.
And remember, the Raiders were one of the Chiefs' losses of last year.
Yeah, they beat them. Both games were actually close. Even the one that they ended up losing, it was still like a 1-touchdown game. So of late, they've always played them well.
Yep.
For the Chiefs side, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also designated to return from IR.
Maybe that was the missing link in this entire offense.
It was Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the reason why their offense hasn't been clicking.
His fumbles,
Eric Bieniemy actually said that he looked great in practice on Wednesday, so I would say he's at least closer than Chris Carson in terms of coming back and maybe actually being out there on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So pay attention to the injury report on Friday.
It is nice that they have they do have the entire day to gauge him. They're not having to go off early.
I mean, Darrell Williams has filled in nicely with him being inactive, so even if he's not out there, you're going to fire up Darrell Williams another week in fantasy.
Yeah. But Raiders side of the ball, they just been distraction after distraction. We talked about Damon Arnett last week. So just another guy that they lose. And for that reason, I'm taking the Chiefs. I just think the Raiders, still so many distractions for them before we get into fantasy, Roach.
Yeah, I mean, all these distractions for them, and we talked about it with John Gruden, that was kind of the first domino for them, and they won 2 games with Basikia as their interim, the first 2 games that he was interim.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just with them splitting the last season, having 2 close games against the Chiefs not being the same Chiefs offense that we've seen over the past couple seasons, I'm picking the Raiders at home in this one, Stein. I don't know why. It just feels like a
this could be your make or break game.
Yeah, I mean, we've only got 3 games difference, so this is definitely going to be a big one for me. But I don't know. I just see the Raiders overcoming all this adversity, the divisional matchup, being at home in this one. I think they could end up winning a close one.
You know what this pick reminds me of?
What's
reminds me of when you played roulette and you put your money on a single number, and I put my money on odd or even, because I'm going with the safest pick,
and I'm going for the 1 for 50 odds.
And it's Las Vegas, so it works out perfectly. What a good analogy.
There you go. Okay, great. Yeah, compliment your own analogy, but
that's on brand, right?
But let's go to the fantasy outlook. So for the Chiefs, you're going to start those usual guys that we talk about every single week. Pat Mahomes, if Clyde isn't healthy, then Darrell Williams for another week. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, you're going to start those guys.
Yeah.
On the Raiders side, Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. It's pretty much the same guys for them as well.
And Renfrow has been one of the best starts, especially against this Chiefs defense.
Yeah, I'd stay away from Deshaun Jackson. It's going to be his first game as a Raider.
Yeah.
I mean, he could catch a 75-yard touchdown, but
that's just going to be one, and that's probably going to be his main contribution.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to risk starting him for that.
Yeah, so Roach picked the Raiders. I picked the Chiefs. One of our three differences.
When I'm doing the punishment next week, then you'll know why, because I picked the Eagles and the Raiders.
Yeah, you'll regret those.
I'll
I bet.
Back.
All right, moving on to the
final game.
Yeah, the Monday night game. The Rams, who we have some breaking news today on, taking on the 49ers in an NFC West battle in Santa Clara. I feel like the 49ers just had a primetime game in Santa Clara.
Because they didn't they?
They had a 4:00 game. I know that last week.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, with being in the late window.
But they've had some pretty recently primetime. They had that rainy game a few nights ago. A few weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago. Yeah, they did have the rainy game. But overall, just like you said, another divisional matchup. San Fran actually has swept the season series the past 2 seasons against the Rams. So they've really had their number over the past couple of years. And this could be a make or break game for Kyle Shanahan. There have been kind of rumors all around the mill saying that he could be on the hot seat.
This is the first time I'm hearing any of that.
No, I mean, they underperformed last year. Of course, they had all the injuries, so they finished 6-10. They're 3-5 right now. This year could potentially be 3-6. They were supposed to compete even in this tough division. So
this could be, his season to figure it out. If they can't take it up from here and they be flat next year, I think that could be most realistically. I don't really see them cutting ties after this season, but definitely I can understand his seat getting warmer now.
Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time. If guys can consistently make it to the playoffs, but not get them a Super Bowl, then they still get canned out of there. So it's definitely something to kind of pay attention to, depending on how the rest of the 49ers season kind of shakes out. But like you kind of started hinting towards, the big news of today is Adam Schefter reporting Odell Beckham Jr., of course, released from the Browns a couple days ago. He went into
a period where he could be signed by any team that they wanted to.
Yeah, it was a waiver period.
Yeah, this waiver wire period.
No one claimed him on waivers.
And then it came down to 3 teams that seemed like they were going to be the front runners from initial reports, and that was the Packers, Saints, and Pats.
Yeah,
Seahawks were thrown around too a little bit, but
I feel like the Seahawks are kind of thrown around with any sort of big guy. Just the Chiefs were thrown around as well.
But I got reports from every single one of those teams saying that the talks were intensifying, and even I think last night was the most recent, and that was the Pats, and I think the Pats were the main team, and then this morning was the Packers.
It was the Packers and the Saints. It said it kind of narrowed it down to those two, and then the dark horse team swoops in at the end. McVay comes in and says, "Yeah, I'll take that." I mean, they got Von Miller already.
They're just taking up some scraps that teams want.
I mean, how they have salary cap for all this?
Oh, they don't. They don't have a lot of draft picks either.
Yeah. So OBJ going to be the wide receiver 3 on this team. A lot of people were questioning, saying, he should go to the Saints or something, or the Patriots, where he could be wide receiver 1. The Packers, where he could be a decent wide receiver 2 behind Adams, have a great quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, but goes to a team with a great quarterback. I would say a pass-first offense with Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Van Jefferson. They have just all this allotment of riches. Even with no Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson has been great this year. They traded for Sony Michel in the preseason. So, I mean, that's really just the names on the offense. We didn't even mention, the studs that they've got on defense.
I know. This is the typical LA vibe.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams are literally pushing all of their pieces to the middle.
This is what the Dodgers do. This is what the Lakers do. It's so cliche, and it's so annoying, because you know what's going to be funny? This is going to blow up in their face, because it's OBJ. This guy is a freaking head case every single year, Roach. He doesn't make his team better. He he like divides his team. This could be funny. I'm excited for this.
See, the thing is, I wonder because like he complained all this time about like being on the Browns. Like the Browns made the playoffs for the first time. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
However many seasons.
And you got to realize that. Just real quickly. You got to realize that Cooper Kupp is going to be Matt Stafford's first read every time.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like, all right, so he was complaining even though his team made it to the playoffs last year, won a playoff game. So like, how is his like attitude going to be going to the Rams now? Like obviously you have like McVay, who I feel like is kind of like a no tolerance like head coach.
Yeah, this is like Belichick. Almost. Belichick
like
Jr.
a younger Belichick, like 50 years younger.
Yeah, 50 years his junior. But
you got Matt Stafford, who obviously a great quarterback, but like you said, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, who I think could still see more targets than Odell Beckham. Like, how will he be being kind of like the third or fourth mouth to feed in this offense if it leads him to at least having a chance to get a ring?
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, Roach, and too many cooks in the kitchen potential case for sure. Will we see them out there again on Monday night? I don't know. It might take them a while.
I mean, I'd assume like he signed on Thursday, so playing on a Monday night. I think he's got a chance to be out there.
He's got a chance,
Monday.
but I would be more comfortable definitely going into next week.
Even if he plays like getting into fantasy wise, you're not going to start OBJ.
Yeah. But let's get into the fantasy for this game. We didn't even talk about the Niners, but I mean, we both have the Rams.
Well, we talked about them a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
But fantasy outlook, we have Matt Stafford. You got to stick with him. He's got all these weapons around him. Guy's been a dark horse MVP as well. Also, Henderson, you're a big fan of him.
Yeah, definitely start him.
Cooper Kupp has been one of the best offensive weapons overall. Bobby Trees, Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, and then the Rams defense as well. Just start pretty much everyone that's of note. On the 49ers side, Elijah Mitchell has been their running back one this year. You're going to start him. George Kittle back last week. He had a great game. Continue to start him. Deebo Samuel has been an elite wide receiver this year. You start him. And Brandon Ayuk finally had a good game last week, so I think you could at least flex him. I mean, this isn't a great matchup against the Rams defense, but he's at least showing signs of being what everyone expected him to be in fantasy.
Yeah, getting a touchdown last week, definitely helped his case. But we're both taking the Rams on Monday night against a lowly Niners team that's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
and
like I said, we got 3 games different in this one, but let's hop into the next segment, our punishment segment. So I've got to spin the wheel twice, Stein, because before we had our bye week, and then from losing last week, I went 6-8 last week, and then you went 8-6. I don't remember our overall record. I had 2 or 3 games ahead of you, but I'll put it up on the screen.
We're pretty close. We've been pretty close.
Yeah, we've been kind of back and forth in terms of like the amount.
And we're still hovering around like 600.
Yeah, we've had overall in the season, like I think this is the first time we've had someone over 5 or under 500.
Yeah, we had this was upsets. We had a bad week, but
so let's spin. Let me make sure it's record. All right, it's recording.
Screen
so we'll
record.
spin the wheel one time.
And it is
the wax strips. Oh man, that's been a week one.
That's been on there for a minute.
Yeah, so that's the first one, and then let's spin for our second one. Hopefully, it doesn't get it again. Ooh, excellent choice. So that's our 2. So it's called excellent choice, Stein. I'll explain it to the viewers, but it's basically the option of either eating a raw egg, not the shell, of course, just the yolk and everything.
No, I want you to eat the shell.
Or you could get 3 eggs cracked over your head. So I'll definitely decide on which of those to do, but we'll place those 2 punishments right in here. Yeah. All right, guys, this is our week 10 punishment. This is punishment number 1 of 2. I'm not excited for this.
Yeah, you're rich?
Yeah, so you rip it up. You rip it up like straight at me.
All right, ready?
Yeah. What?
It tore. It tore. Ready?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. That. Okay, that didn't hurt that bad, but that's. Fuck.
Does that hurt?
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oh, that's like a square.
Oh.
Can't wear shorts now.
Oh no. Well, good thing it's winter time now.
Yeah. Is it smooth? Is it bloody?
No, that was like a clean break.
Yeah, well, I really ripped it and the thing ripped off.
Oh my god.
All right, guys, this is punishment number 2. I already got my wax leg, but let's do the 3 eggs on top of the head.
Bree's gonna be our first egg.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Yeah. Luckily,
we got
it
some.
mostly missed me.
Oh, we'll clean that up.
Yeah,
All right.
All right.
There's
Second
one.
egg will be Miss Carly.
It hurt.
It's fine.
Ooh, nice and gooey. Ooh, shake it out. All right. All right, here we go.
I was kicking your eye.
We're going to do, actually, instead of a hard one, we're going to do a nice...
No, you gotta do it hard because otherwise it won't break.
You won't be able to crush it in your hand.
Oh!
It got on me, too.
Stop shaking your head.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. And those were the 2 punishments that I had to endure from the past 2 weeks. So hopefully my tide will turn this upcoming week in our Week 10 matchups.
No, Eagles Raiders, bub.
Yeah,
Maybe. I'm just called you Bubby.
Yeah, that could be in for me. But anyways, guys, we said that we were going to do our mid-season awards. So what we decided, we're already at over an hour and 20 minutes in terms of our recording. So for time's sake, we're going to basically take all of our mid-season award winners and everything. I'm going to put it into an Instagram reel. So be sure to follow our Instagram at The Couch Quarterbacks, and I'll have a reel of that so you guys can see what we chose for all of our mid-season award winners, MVPs, Player of the Years, Defensive Player of the Years, Comeback Player of the Year. We have a bunch of awards that we'll end up putting all in one little video for y'all, so be sure to check the Instagram page and enjoy that. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. For Andrew Roachford, Ben Steinberg right there, the marathon we have gotten through.
I know.
But we will see you guys on the flip side.
Deuces.